Patrick, thank you so much for being with us here today. Before we start, please tell me about your starts, your beginnings that shaped you into the person you are today.
I'm by nationality a Chinese. I like to see myself as a citizen of the world, and my job is to make investments. A lot of the investments I make, end of the day, they all have global implications, and the world is really interrelated. And so I think this is really important, I think, in today's world, and to spend still a lot of time to connect with people. And when you spend a lot of times with great entrepreneurs, you're inspired and wisdom to actually to say something like, it's almost like cliche for a long time, but I think is more important today is to create a better world.
But when you say connecting people, it is not just mingling around gatherings, but you're doing some quite concrete things, aren't you?
Well, thank you for mentioning that. So last year, because we're at FII, and I brought a group of Chinese CEOs and attending FII, and we also arranged a very special China breakfast, and Ray Dalio was there, and the new CEO of Carlyle was there as well. And so we had a great discussion about the world and also how Chinese entrepreneurs contribute to the world. And just last month, I brought another group of 20 top Chinese CEOs to Europe. And when we started and planning for that, it was kind of a little bit rushed, and it was a little slow. But when everybody showed up, meeting with their counterparts in Europe, there was just so much chemistry coming out of that whole thing. And so the companies who came with me, they represented, if we add all their market caps together, 2 trillion RMB. But for the companies we met in Europe, on the European side, in aggregate, their market value was 2 trillion euros. So that was a lot. And also the investors who showed up, the assets under their management was 20 trillion. So really big numbers, but what does that mean? Each of that business or institution or investor they represent is just a tremendous amount of influence. I think in today's world, it's been, I would say, more divided than ever. For people to actually be under the same roof, like what you always do at FI is for people to talk. And when people showed up, they look at each other, they see a real face. And I also said to everybody when I was making my speech, I said, my favorite book, one of my favorite books was A Hero with 1,000 Faces. Each of us, you, me, and the people we talk to, the entrepreneurs, investors, each is a hero in their own career, in their own family. They're trying to be a role model and for their next generation, and also do something that's courageous for their industry. So for heroes, the journeys are very similar. So when people started to see each other, tell each other their stories, and strikingly, it's all very similar. So I think it's really, everybody is born with a father and a mother. You have a different color, but you're a hero in your own right. So I think it's very important for great people to get connected, to talk.
You're at the right place for that. What was the impression you got that the Chinese investors thought about Europe? You know, we always keep hearing how Europe is right now very quiet. What were they thinking?
And I think it's very important when people to show up to a new market, you have to learn. What are the things you want to learn? You have to learn about nuances, and you needed to be in a position to show empathy, meaning that you can think in the shoes of your counterparties. So we talked about what are the things we should learn from European companies. First of all, many of the strongest European companies, they're global companies, meaning that they have more revenue, they generate, they create outside their home country than inside their home country. And also many of them, and for quite a long time, they always try to build their brand consistently. They don't rush it, but they build their brand every year. They're trying to protect there's
legacy.
Exactly. Their products, their pricing system, there's a lot of consistency in what they do. And it's good or bad, and maybe because there hasn't been so much innovations in Europe, so many of the really well-respected European companies, they've been around for quite a long time. And so they understood how to manage through cycles. I think that's also very, very important for everybody to learn. The last thing people need to learn from European companies is because they start with a home market in terms of size, a little bit limiting. So they always think about the world, where they should build their best R&D centers, and how to build their global supply chain, and how they to embrace local talents. They never thought about it just to do everything inside Italy or inside Spain or inside Germany. They want to go abroad. So they have a global mindset to start with. So those are the nuances I would say we want to learn from the European businesses.
Do you think that the business diplomacy between China and the rest of the world has gone back to where it was before the global pandemic?
And I would say this. So first of all, I'm an investor, so I think it's important for us to seek the truth. And people don't talk so much about what we actually experienced for the last 30 years. And actually, we're thinking the true inflection point happened in 2008, the financial crisis. Prior to that, every economy has much stronger growth, GDP growth, than post and the financial crisis. And people didn't feel that bad because every country injected so much liquidity into the system, and so the economy was more inflated. But the truth was, the global economy slowed down significantly, including China. But in 2020, when COVID hit the world, and it's certainly kind of everyone got frozen, and then you start to see all the negative aspects of globalization like showing up. For example, if you want to order something, you cannot order something, you are stuck in your house, you cannot even get medical masks. And so people feel very pained through this process, and people don't get to see each other anymore. And so companies don't meet each other. So even like for this last trip with the 20 entrepreneurs coming to Europe, it's actually the first time since COVID someone organized something like this at that level, that scale. So that's why when we showed up, and a lot of people started to kind of wake up to this, and they say, you know what, we should spend a lot of time in thinking how to collaborate. And one last thing is, to get us really out of the economic downturn, it's all coming down to one thing, it's productivity gains. If I may just steal something from the world of cuisine. So people always talk about there's great Italian food, Japanese food, or maybe Chinese, or maybe French, but today if you look at the top chefs, what they do is something called fusion, right? So they have the ingredients, they're scattered in different places, but they're really good at, by understanding what's going on in the world, they steal something from the ideas from other creative industries, but then they got all these good ingredients in one pot, they make something very special the customers have never had before. So this is something I think we should do. Essentially is realizing the good stuff, good ingredients, good talents, good technologies, they're scattered somewhere in the world. And it's our job as an investor to bring them together in a very, I would say, curated, artistic, creative way.
What is the general investment climate right now in China? What is the feeling you're getting?
I think just like everything, you go through cycles, you go through a little bit kind of like sometimes a stronger momentum, sometimes a slower momentum. But what's interesting about technology, for example, in my view, and this is actually applies to the US economy and Chinese economy for the larger ones, I would say every 10 years, about 25% of economy is new. 10 years ago, nobody would have ever thought China could come up with the best electric vehicles in the world. And 10 years ago, nobody has thought ChatGPT would potentially replace a lot of things we do with the internet. So those are the newness in the economy, and that continues to happen regardless.
Thank you very much, Patrick. It was very interesting. Thank you.
Thank you.